It is February 27th, 2023. I'm back over here at Kaiser Elementary, subbing 6th grade today. Well, the day's already half over. They're in music class right now. From there, they go to lunch. So from there until the end of lunch, I'm going to be helping this teacher file things that she wanted filed away and pass out a couple of flyers and then just get ready for the latter half of the day. Very nice class. Very, very talkative at the same time, but very nice class. One of them's a former Royal Ranger who I subbed for last May when I subbed here the first time when he was in 5th grade. And one of them's the sister of a person who my student taught math over at Ensign. They like the incentives that they ultimately earn, the rope magic, and I actually, well, magic in quotes, I actually did a magic trick for the first time ever. It's the same one that I did before. It's where they take 3-digit numbers, there's 3 of them, and they multiply them together. But instead of having the product in an envelope, I actually used a deck of cards. And right before the trick, I had 8 people come up, and I asked each of them, one at a time, standing in line, to tell me when to stop, somewhere in the middle, and they told me when to stop. They stopped at a card, and we placed the cards one at a time in the order that they told me to stop. And so after the product was calculated, which was this number, I went over to the cards underneath the document cam, and I flipped them one at a time. And I miscounted. There were 9 digits instead of 8, but I had another person just tell me when to stop, and he stopped at the 5. Well, so far so good, except for coming back and almost entering the wrong classroom and then just hurrying back next door to the right classroom. And that's it, a very great day today. I can't wait to return on Thursday when I'm subbing here again for 5th grade, and I know where I'm going to be tomorrow. Not yet for Wednesday and Friday. I just ran into an SAI teacher who used to be my neighbor down the street back when I was a child. Like up till like 9 years old before I moved, and he and his 2 sons were neighbors of mine, and when he was starting out teaching and everything, he had a couple of projects like student teaching and all that. I went to his backyard a few times and did like some reading and comprehension and such as he was practicing and such, so it was very good to catch up after, I mean, it's been like probably way over half a decade since the last time I recall seeing him. I was asking how his 2 boys were doing, and they're all both like graduated already. So small world. A great day today, and I can't wait for tomorrow. And real quick, I'm over here at Vanguard University, and today is the last day that I'll be here for this class. It's a half a semester, and then my other class is online, and we don't meet on Zoom for another month. It's like half synchronous, half asynchronous, but here for the final night. It's February 28th, 2023. I'm over here at Killybrooke, subbing 3rd grades. First time I'm ever here, so I'm excited to enter. It is now lunchtime, and I want to say that this is perhaps one of the best classes that I have ever subbed for at this grade level. This is actually the first and currently only time that I subbed at this grade level. Apparently, Frontline said 3rd grade, and I come in here, and it didn't take long before I realized this is a 2nd grade class. 3rd grade is what I determined to be my minimum, below which I'm not sure if I could be an effective substitute teacher. Of course, I emphasized in 2nd grade in my 2nd year as a commander at Royal Rangers back in 2014, 2015, and the first 2 years as a commander from 2013, 2015, I did Ranger Kids, so that's K through 2nd. But I've never subbed a 2nd grade class before, and I wasn't sure what was going to ensue, but let me tell you the truth. This is a really kind and respectful class. I got to show tricks throughout the day to reward their good behavior, and they all like the tricks so far, and I have more coming. So after class began and I knew that these were 2nd graders, I'm like, so you're all in 2nd grade? They all shouted yes, and I'm like, I remember when I was in 2nd grade over at Kaiser Elementary school. They're learning about coins and their values and everything, so I told them I remember when I was in 1st or 2nd grade, that's exactly what we learned. Of course, some of the coins look different than they do now, 20 years ago. And then we did like scholastic news and write about the snow leopards, and then a spelling packet and writing packet and all that fun stuff. And I told them when I was their age, I used to get in trouble for writing too much. And the person who sat next to me had the task to literally confiscate my pencil if I went to the next page and tried to write some more. So I always loved creative writing. In fact, it came up yesterday at Kaiser because a couple of people were talking about creative writing, and I told them the story when I was in 10th grade. Because it was creative writing, I written 32 pages when it was only supposed to be like 2 to 5 pages or something. Other than that, I'm having a very great day here. Again, first day at Killybrooke. In fact, at recess, I had recess duty, and a person said that I looked very familiar, like if I went to Kaiser as a student, and I said I went to there for 2 summer schools, and she used to work there starting in the 90s and such, and she was wondering if she remembered me from Newport Harbor High School, and I said the names of my 4 English teachers, but she couldn't really place it, but she said I looked very familiar, so she probably saw me in the past. Which is neat. On the way over here, I'm like, I don't think I know anyone here, so it would be neat if I ran into somebody by surprise, so I might have possibly. And there's a new student today, first day here at the school and such, so I could imagine what he is feeling, but the classmates are very nice, and I'm helping him along the way with what I know, especially like the worksheets and such, and then the students are helping him with like locations and other things. Also, when I first got here, there's a lady that came and said, I have your stuff, your packets and everything, and I thought that she was the instructional aide, and she's like, okay, this is for the spelling, for the math and all this, and if you can't get the computer to work, then you'll just have to read to them and all this and that. And then I read through the subnotes, and on the bottom of the subnotes, she said, I will be on campus if you need anything. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the teacher. And then later I confirmed, oh, she was the teacher. And so she was like, oh, sorry about that. I mean, you were probably wondering who I was. I'm like, yeah, I thought you were like an instructional aide or like assistant or something. But no, she's the teacher. In fact, she used to work at Kaiser, she said. It is now the time of their second recess, I believe they called it. So again, so far so great. And I read a chapter of Matilda, arithmetic, and I watched the movie like 12 years ago. Back in 2011, I started to get into math shortcuts, and I was at a place and they said that, hey, you remind me of this movie, so that's how I watched Matilda several years ago. And so even though I haven't watched it in like 12 years almost, when I was like reading the chapter to the best of my ability, I was thinking about that scene that I watched back in the day, and by fortuity that was actually ushering into the next trick, where it was an adaptation of the envelope trick, and this time I had 4 students stop at 4 cards. I put the 4 cards down, and then I gave them a notebook, write down 3-digit numbers. I gave that to 3 people, and then one person added them together, and then the sum was like 1,619 or something. And so I'm like, okay, the ones are the aces, so it was like ace 6, ace 9, and I flipped the cards over, all 4 of them in the order that was chosen, and it was like ace 6, ace 9. So very fun, very befitting. And I was also showing a couple of math shortcuts. I can't really go too much into detail because not all of them are proficient in multiplication yet. But then that ushered into the math lesson, so they took out their bridges, and it's basically counting and such, so that's fun. And today, again, it's just been a joy, whether it's spelling, whether it's writing, or whether it's math. I'm actually, going all around and checking work and checking for understanding and helping them out, and when I see some like spelling errors or calculation errors, or if they raise their hand, it is a joy to go and help them out and help them in like their sentences or their words or counting or what have you. And it's over. The conclusion to an amazing day. First day that I substituted second grade, and between extra recess and now I got to help out a lot, especially with the scholastic news about snow leopards and math and all that fun stuff. A very great class, 17 students. And at the very end, they really enjoyed my juggling and everything. They were very intrigued. So again, this is the first time I'm doing second grade, and I'm not sure if I'll do second grade or not again. And again, I didn't choose second grade because I thought it was going to be third grade, but it turned out very nice. And again, the students were very respectful. So very excited how today turns out. Can't wait for the next day subbing. And earlier I ran into a person, and we just ran into each other again, and turns out that she used to be my classmate back before COVID in spring 2020, and we had language cultures and linguistics class together as an anthropology class at Vanguard, so it's nice getting reacquainted. We thought that each other looked familiar. It is the first day of March 2023, and I'm back over here at Killybrooke, this time subbing 6th grade, and yes, I did confirm this time, it's 6th grade today. Very excited to return. Well, I'm in here, room 11, and when I walked in, the office lady said something like, welcome back, and it's great to be back. And I walked all the way over here, and it was a little bit drizzling, and there's like a wind chill because of the wind and such. It is freezing cold outside. I don't think I recall shaking from the coldness in a long time, but it was very cold. But other than that, I'm just about to read the subnotes and find out what I'm doing today. Well, it is lunchtime now, and it turned out to be a mostly pleasant class so far. And it is Wednesday, so it is early out day, so I have about 15 minutes after lunch, which ends in just over half an hour. And so after I got here this morning and got situated, I was reading the subnotes, and it says, okay, watch out for these students, and it's a very chattery class and everything. And later on this morning, I ran into a teacher, and she asked me if I'm subbing for this class. I said yes. Okay, well, if anything gets out of hand, please call me or send someone to me. And right before the morning bell rang, the principal walks in to give a pep talk to all the students to just be kind and on their best behavior and everything, show respect and all that. And then basically she was telling me, if it gets out of hand, call the office. Okay, so it's like I've been through this before. And class begins, and I'm explaining who I am. I'm the substitute teacher and everything. I do magic tricks, quote unquote, and such. And it's dead silent all day. Like the first 35 minutes, it was like SSR, reading and such, dead silent. Okay, and yeah, throughout the day there's like some chattering here and there, but very, very mild. I mean, everyone makes it out to look like I'm going to have a very difficult day today, but no, I didn't. They're very kind and respectful. And then after that, they had literally an hour and a half of reading tests, like wonders and star reading, and they all did that. They're phenomenal. They're outstanding. They're all silent and everything. And while they were, doing work, there's actually like an English language learner that I helped out. So we were communicating on Google Translate, and I was helping him a lot. And so that was felt like a rewarding experience that I got to help out and be able to communicate in that way. And then after recess was the math lesson, and again, it brought me back to my mentor teacher's classroom. I just got a math credential. I student taught enhanced math, so like the honor students, and this almost brought me back. There were a couple of times when people started to blurt out, but it was basically all about exponents and everything. And so it was an excellent lesson, very respectful, engaged, active learning. And afterward, I showed them math shortcuts, how to do math shortcuts, and that adapted card trick. And I had 9 people tell me when to stop somewhere in the deck, and I had those 9 cards placed in order, and then 3 additional people to think of 3-digit numbers, and then another person to multiply them, and then I turned the cards over one at a time, and it was the product. So, and then after the math was like a half hour of writing, narrative writing, and it's like, well, I once written 32 pages back in the day. And so again, it's lunchtime, after which is 15 more minutes and then dismissal. And that's it, a conclusion to a remarkable day. I like the juggling and the magic tricks and everything, and I ran into the teacher just now who popped in, and she said that she ran to the students, and the students had high remarks, she said, about my substituting. In fact, she invited me to come later on and asked me if I was available on this date, so I might be coming back. It's March 2nd, 2023. I'm back over here at Kaiser Elementary. This time I am subbing 6th grade today. Well, I'm here in the classroom, and I just went through the subnotes. And also the subnotes was addressed to me, specifically to Matthew, and that's because I've ran into her a couple of times. She knew I was subbing today. While I was doing so, a 3rd grade teacher came in here asking if I could substitute half day next week. So I guess she heard of me and wanted me to sub for her. It's going to be quite an interesting class. Very interesting. And so about that last comment that I made a few hours ago, that it was going to be an interesting day, almost just like yesterday, completely opposite. I mean, she was saying in person and in the subnotes that this class is very, 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 very talkative. But then they had like wonders quizzes, AR quizzes and such, dead silent. I mean, I kid you not, it was dead silent. They were very well respectful, well behaved, a very outstanding class, just like yesterday. And there's like literally no issues. And then there's the social studies cards, which did get just a little bit talkative. I kept on having to remind them to whisper and such. And then likewise after recess for the math part and everything. But other than that, I mean, this is a very good set of respectful students. And once again, I'm walking around the campus like here and there, going from place to place and such, or during recess or lunch, and everybody knows me as the magician and such. Like, they all want to see a trick, and other students ask me to make this disappear and all that, and they're very intrigued and eager for me to show them tricks and also to sub for their class. They're like, come sub for our class and everything. So it's quite humbling that this occurs, and it's my joy to make students happy, as well as to help them with the content as necessary. I got to help out a lot in math, like they were correcting their homework, and a lot of them had questions, and so I was just pulling out my student teaching experience, teaching math and everything. And during recess, I accepted a position for that third grade half day that I'm going to be doing. So I walked over there at lunchtime and confirmed it with her that I'll be subbing next week for her class. And then right afterward, there's a position that opened up just like that, and so I accepted it, and that's where I'll be tomorrow. But first I have to finish this day. The rest of the day went phenomenal. I really enjoyed giving the astronomy lesson. Well, it was a meteorology lesson, but it had a lot of astronomy in there, and like the purpose of science and the cause and effect and everything. I almost got carried away with advanced astronomy knowledge, like Kepler's laws and everything. I just gave the three 17th century Kepler laws in a nutshell. Other than that, again, the students were great, and yes, as the day progressed, the more and more chatty they were, but by the end of the day, they were all seated at the desk, everything cleaned up, eager to see what I brought out, which was juggling, and took them outside for the remainder of the day, like the last 15 or so minutes, while I handed out prizes that they got for raising a certain amount of money, and then they just went out and just played because that was part of their Thursday afternoon incentive. And earlier today, toward the end of lunch, and I was going outside, I ran into another teacher, and the teacher was saying all the students are raving about you. They all want you to be their sub, so I, again, feel very appreciative for that. And of course, in everything that I do, I persevere that everybody gets the content that everybody understands to the best of their ability and the best of my ability to teach them effectively, as well as other strategies like SEL strategies, things that they could take out in life, such as positive reinforcements and encouragements, like I believe in them. Some things in life require self-discipline and just do the best that you can. And what I try to do every time that I'm subbing elementary and get to juggle at the end, I give my analogy. And concluding this week over here at California Elementary, subbing 5th grade today. I'm inside here in this wonderful classroom and about to read the subnotes, and according to the office lady and a quick glance at the subnotes, it looks like this is going to be quite an interesting class that may not be like the past couple of days this week, but let's find out. Well, it is just after lunch. They're out in PE right now, and let's have to take a deep breath there. So today was, like I just said a few seconds ago, which was in reality hours ago. I said it's going to be quite a day, or whatever it was I said, because I forgot now. And it really was quite a day. So the past couple of days, remember I was told that it was kind of a bit of a talkative class, and I do the class, and it was hardly talkative at all, maybe toward like the middle and end of the day. But this one was very something. Several minutes just to introduce myself, like, hello, I'm Mr. Kenslow and such. About 2/3 of them actually remember me from last June when I juggled for them here. And when I first got here and I was going to their line, they were asking if I was subbing for them. I confirmed with them that I was their sub, and they were like very, very excited and screaming and jumping up and down. Kind of like yesterday at Kaiser Elementary when I opened the door that morning right before school started, and students saw me and they were very excited. So before I elaborate what happened this morning, I kind of had a stressful morning. No, not really, but as soon as I got here, I realized I forgot my backpack 4.5 miles away, and I was like, well, I don't really need it. And then I came in here and realized, oh boy, I needed it. Not only are my juggling stuff in there, well, the juggle-bugs that is, I mean, I have the clubs and basketball, soccer ball and all that, but the actual like juggle-bugs I left at home, and so I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. But it wasn't long until after I entered this room that I realized that I don't have my password, my district password. And I went to the other teacher whom I ran into in the office, and we know each other because he saw my performance last June 9th, and he was across the way. And he saw me the last time I was here. And he's a very nice teacher, but he didn't know what to do about the password. He said, call the office. And then I realized, well, I have to call a family member. So I called my family member, directed them upstairs of the apartment. Okay, open the backpack, get out the blue folder and read off the numbers and everything. And I copied it down, and I got the password. And later on in the day, I realized last January I written my password just in case I needed it, so that I have two locations and one is always going to be on me. And so at lunchtime I ran into that teacher and told him my like double whammy embarrassment, I guess. And we both laughed about it, and it is funny, especially in retrospect. But back to elaborate on exactly what happened. So I am thankful that there was a one-on-one instructional aide here who didn't just help his student but also helped me manage the class and such. And there were spots where I got this class all day today, like totally silent and listening and such, but it was a very, very, very talkative day. I mean, of everything this week, it's like combine it was actually today where everybody was going to be extraordinarily talkative, some, or at least one, like running out the door. I had to talk to him afterward when he came back. And I kept on walking around and talking to this group and that group and this group, just trying to get them to just do their work and focus on their work and all that. I think it's kind of a fun roller coaster adventure of a day, and I'm very serious. I'm not too frustrated. I'm actually like happy that I'm here to help out and employ all the SEL strategies, talking with the students and such. And they're very, very kind students at heart. I could discern that. Well, anyway, during the silent reading and everything, it was silent. During the social studies, I was like, they're doing like colonial times, colonial times, like 1750s and such. And that's when it started to get chattery. And then after recess was math. So they had like a 5-minute multiplication test and then 4 pages of math, like rounding, decimals, all that fun stuff, and rounding challenges. And so we got through that right to the very end, so that lasted about an hour, and I was like engaging a lot of students as I can, and I was getting the class silent as I could, and a lot of them were working and participating, active learning. I called on students, I also called on sticks, and they answered. And then after the math was recess and lunch, and all throughout recess and lunch I would be walking from point A to point B, and tons of students, I heard a lot of students whispering, talking in a low voice, or even coming up to me about me being the magician, me being, or magic man, me being the YouTuber. They liked watching my YouTube videos, they said that they're good, which is very reassuring. I do not want to put boring content or anything like that. And there were patches of students who came up to me throughout lunch wanting to see like a trick, a card trick and everything. So right now they're at PE, and I'm about to pick them up here shortly, and then they're going to be here for the rest of the day. They did earn a magic trick. I'll let them choose between like the rope trick or the greatest card trick in the world, and we'll see how that goes. Today, I lamentingly say that I did have to take off like recess minutes, and I did have to say, okay, I'm sorry, can't do the magic trick and such. They exceeded 3 warnings actually beyond. I'm just a very lenient teacher, but they even exceeded beyond that and everything. And again, this is where I employ SEL, and I encourage them the best I can. I also got to meet the teacher whom I subbed for in December, and I said, well, I was the one that did the magic tricks and the juggling, and she was saying something like, oh yeah, you're the hit. And there was just an announcement that came on the intercom, and apparently 3 of the students in my class, along with students in other classes, got in and out gift cards, so for academic excellence. So congratulations. So we'll see what the rest of the day will bring. And so that was literally something else after PE. Let's just say the custodian let me borrow these for juggling, because I forgot my juggling at home, and I improvised with like a plastic brain or whatever that I could juggle with. But before the juggling, we had to get everything cleaned up, everything wiped down, everybody in their seats, and then I had to get them quiet for literally 2 minutes. And it took a couple of tries, but they went 120 full seconds. And afterward, I just rewarded them with juggling, and I gave my juggling analogy, my last efforts of SEL, social and emotional learning. Today went quite adventurous, I'll put it that way. I'm still glad that I came today, and this week went by phenomenally. And in fact, this week I completed the entire Costa Mesa zone in substitute teaching. I substituted like 21 NMUSD schools, and I'm having like a checklist, and I just completed subbing every Costa Mesa zone school, elementary, middle, and high school at least once. So anyway, there's like 32, and then Cloud Campus. I'm not sure if I'll substitute Cloud Campus, that's like online, but I think there's 32 other schools in this district. Other than that, an excellent week. Thank you so much for following this journey and your interest in this, and I hope that in the end, that if you're an aspiring teacher, disability or not, you could do it. You could do whatever you set your heart and mind to do. So I'll see you in the next video.